Welcome to another episode of Get Your Bag Right podcast. Today's episode is sponsored by the lovely Mama Bima Kenya. So we are here to talk about critical illness insurance, and I believe is a topic that most of us need to be aware about. But before we start, I'll let Mama Bima introduce herself so that for those who don't know about her, they can get a feel of who Mama Bima is and what she does.
Hello there, Mama Bima Kenya. Lovely to connect with you, and today we'll be learning a lot. I'm your go-to insurance agent, and I'm happy to be on the Get Your Bag Right podcast.
Welcome, Mama Bima.
Thank you.
This is like your fourth episode over here.
Mm-hmm,
Or the fifth.
Yes.
Yeah. Today she's sponsoring the episode, so I'm glad to have her here, and we'll have her more in the coming episodes when we're talking about matters insurance. So before we begin the conversation, we're going to play a card game. So this is one of our products which we offer at the Financial Fitbit Consultancy. So it's a money charts game. So it just helps you to have interactive questions about money with your friends and your family. So we had chosen the questions off camera, and Mama Bima is going to answer one. So choose one. Okay, ask the question.
So first question, what type of insurance policies do you currently have in place, and how did you decide which ones were necessary for your situation?
Okay. I answer or you answer first?
Answer first.
So currently I have medical insurance, mostly because it was a necessity. It was not a necessity, but it was something that I needed to have, mostly also because of my family background, where my sister was ill and diagnosed with a critical illness. So I think also that time during her diagnosis, that's when now we took up medical insurance. So I believe that is something that I have carried on along the way here.
Okay, any other insurance?
Any other insurance as Lynette or as Lynette and extension?
Yes, an extension.
Home insurance, mostly because I need to protect the small wealth I have. So I've taken home insurance and motor insurance here.
Okay. How about a personal accident?
Oh, yes, and personal accidents, which I told you off camera, yes. And personal, I think that one I rarely mention it, but it's something that is also there, yeah.
Okay. Now, on my part, being an insurance agent, I'm very, alive to the risks that surround me, and also being a business owner. So for personal lines, I do have, I'm a breadwinner, I'm a mom, also married. So yes, I do have life insurance in place, and comprehensive life insurance for that matter, that's adequate to do income protection and eventually do inheritance planning. And it also has critical illness coverage and also accidental disability coverage. Also, I do have, of course, for my assets, whether it's motor insurance, I have home insurance. At the office, I have property insurance at the office. I have WIBA for my employees. I have medical insurance for my employees. So yes.
So you're adequately covered with all insurance aspects. Protection, you're protected.
The one thing that I'm always very keen in doing, I do distribute insurance products, but I'm also a consumer of insurance products.
That's good. So I can ask the other question, then we can go into the conversation of today. So can you share any experience where having adequate insurance coverage provided peace of mind during a challenging time?
Okay. And for this, allow me to share an experience that I recently went through with one of my clients. I met her about 2 years ago, young girl, and she was shopping for medical insurance. Her employer was going to fund, the premium payment for that policy. But at the same time, she felt she also wanted to have her own individual, policy. So we got to buy 2 policies from 2 different underwriters. And yes, it is possible to buy more than 1 medical cover. Now, this year, she recently underwent a procedure. And at one point she went into shock, because when we were getting the estimates from her doctor, especially for the theatre work, for the doctor's fees and everything, we realized that the sub-limit for the medical cover that she had already forwarded as that would be catering for the bill was lower than the total charge, that had been projected,
So she had to foot from pocket.
Yes, so she was already going into a panic that she'd have to pay, out of pocket. And at that point, that's when I asked her, but you have the other policy. And I'm telling you, one of my colleagues actually sent me a screenshot of our WhatsApp status, and she had said something to the tune of, she doesn't want to go into the details right now, but she's so grateful that she met Mama Bima. Because yes, we visited her actually at the hospital. She was in a private room. Let's start from there. And her entire bill was footed by the two medical policies. So they actually contributed and funded the entire bill. So yes, I think when I look back, sometimes I like to say maybe it's God ordering your footsteps, her feeling that yes, my employer is providing a medical cover, but I also want to have my own policy. Then this happens, and you see now the power of the two policies actually being able to cover the entire bill.
I didn't know someone can take two.
Yes, it's for
now I know, and I know most of us have known that. Okay. So for me, can you share any experience where having adequate insurance coverage provided peace of mind during a challenging time? Okay, I think I have two instances, and I think Mama Bima already knows. So the first instant was when I lost my phone. Remember that day I told you I lost my phone back in 2014?
Yes.
I remember I lost my phone, and we had home insurance at the moment. So I remember going back and saying, oh, my phone has been stolen in town, I was robbed. And then now I was told, oh, we have home insurance, so we can easily do a claim and we get the money and then we get back another phone. That's how I knew the importance of home insurance back then. Then another instance is when my sister fell sick, and then now we had medical insurance, which helped us pay part of the bill, but not all of it, but it also helped us during that time. Yeah. So I think those are the two instances I can mention.
Oh, lovely.
So we are done with our cards game. So we'll go into our conversation of today, which is about critical illness insurance cover. So Charlene, what exactly is critical illness insurance cover?
Good question, Lynette. I'm excited that we are actually going into this discussion today. So critical illness insurance is a policy that makes a lump sum payout to a policyholder if they're diagnosed with a serious illness. And some of these serious illnesses could be, say, cancer, a heart attack, stroke, or any other specified condition that's within that policy. Okay? Mm-hmm. And unlike regular health insurance, with critical illness coverage, will give you a cash payout that is discretionary. You can actually use that money for whatever need you may have during that time that you're battling the illness. And it is meant to ease any financial strain that often comes with serious illnesses and to cater for expenses that may not necessarily be medically related. For instance, everyday bills. This could be school fee, it could be food, it could be transportation costs, and any other lifestyle changes that may be necessitated for somebody who's battling a critical illness.
So it's basically an income replacement tool or vehicle.
Exactly. A critical illness cover, that is very well put, is an income replacement protection tool, because it ensures that, for example, if you're a business owner and every day you actually need to get out of your house and go open your shop so that you get an income. And then say you're diagnosed with cancer. If you get your 10 million payout or your 15 million payout or your 5 million payout from the insurance company, that means you can even take that money, probably invest it in a money market fund, and it gives you a monthly passive income, and you can use that passive income that you're getting from your critical illness payout to put food on the table, to ensure school fee for your children is paid, and so on.
So then why does someone need a critical illness insurance cover and yet they have a medical insurance cover?
There are several reasons why having a critical illness insurance policy can be beneficial even if you already have a health policy. Number one, critical illness provides or gives you financial protection beyond medical costs. A medical insurance policy will typically cover you for, any hospitalization, any treatment costs, and so on, right? But with critical illness insurance, as we've discussed, this is discretionary money, so you can use it for various needs that you have in your household. Okay, so the first reason for having a critical illness policy, in addition to a health policy, would be to have financial protection beyond medical costs. Number two, it's important to have a critical illness cover, even if you have health insurance, for purposes of income replacement for policyholders. We have just explained that that payout that you receive from your critical illness policy, you can then invest it, and it can even give you passive income, or you can even directly just use the principal amount. A third reason is for peace of mind. Okay, knowing that you have financial support, even if you're diagnosed with a critical illness, can lessen the stress that otherwise a policyholder would be going through during such a difficult time. And it allows you to focus on your recovery instead of being overly burdened by financial strain. Allow me to share a story. Sometimes last year, one of my clients was diagnosed with a critical illness. And one thing that I loved about this gentleman is that he had really covered himself and his family. And when the critical illness payout was made, the one thing that he was very realistic, the critical illness diagnosis was made at a very late stage. Yes, so I think he was very alive to what would be the eventual outcome. And even when the payout came, he told me that the two things that he was very grateful for, that the two financial steps that he had taken and he was very happy about, was number one, getting a permanent home for his family, and number two, getting a life insurance cover. And his life policy actually had a critical illness policy. And towards the end of the year, at one point, he even actually went on vacation with his family before now having to go overseas for further treatment. And I would say we never get to see that side of the journey. Okay, most times we are not alive to what critical illness policies do for people, but critical illness actually gives you that peace of mind as a policyholder, and you're able to be present and to concentrate on the most important things during that hard time when you're battling this very serious illness. And it ensures that whether maybe you need to go and seek a specialized treatment abroad, you're not too worried about the financial constraints that otherwise you may face. Lastly, allow me to add this about, critical illness. It's that critical illness insurance complements your health insurance because it fills in the gaps that you may have in coverage. There are definitely people who may be very amply covered. For example, people who have international medical insurance. Okay, we do have, even in the local market, an international medical cover that you can have as much coverage as 10 million USD.
Is that on critical illness or?
Yes, so it's unlimited. So even if you...
They don't have the sublimits or something?
Yes, no sublimit even for critical illnesses. So you can imagine a coverage that could go as high as 1.3 billion shillings. I mean, it almost feels like vanity. You may never need that much coverage. Okay, so yes, a few Kenyans maybe are very fortunate enough to be able to afford to be able to afford very high value and very high coverage in health insurance. But for most Kenyans, when you look at our local covers, the sub-limits within the inpatient benefit is usually very low. You'll find your critical illness coverage may be about 750,000, 1 million. So remember that the critical illness cover, because it can go from 1 million to about 15 million, this comes to complement your health insurance coverage. So it's very important to have both.
Yeah, concurrently.
Yes.
Okay. So then what are these diseases that are classified as critical illness?
Okay, good question. So a critical illness policy will typically cover a range of serious illnesses. And this could include cancer, heart attack, a stroke, a major organ transplant, kidney failure, paralysis, a coma, and so on. Okay, so the diseases or the conditions that are covered by a critical illness policy will range from one policy to the other. Okay, so it's very important that you take note of what is covered within the terms and conditions of that policy. But some critical illness insurance policies, other than the listed critical illnesses, will also give coverage for terminal illnesses.
What are terminal illnesses?
So a terminal illness is defined as a life-threatening condition that probably has no cure, or one that has progressed to where a doctor says that I expect that maybe this client will pass on over the next 12 months. Okay, so for example, let's say
if you have cancer stage 4, then they know that there's no cure, so they take you to that, like it's like you're taken to hospice. It's called hospice or what?
Yes, sort of like palliative care.
Yeah.
Yes, but cancer, yes, at some point it becomes a terminal illness, but cancer is quote unquote like a mainstream critical illness. But there are some conditions, maybe such as lupus sometimes, that could actually become terminal.
Okay.
So if it is a disease where a doctor says that this illness, as it is, does not have any known cure, and number two, the doctor maybe makes a determination that I expect that maybe this patient will not survive the next 12 months, then that is a terminal illness. So you find there's some critical illness policies that will actually give coverage for that. So it's important, you know, as a policy holder, to ensure that you review your policy terms and conditions and to understand which specific illnesses are covered under the policy that you're purchasing. Because also, one thing to note is even an illness such as cancer, you know, it could be there, it's covered. But if you read through the fine print, you may notice that there could be some exclusions, you know, to that same critical illness. For example, all cancers that are in situ or all pre-malignant conditions or skin cancers, in most instances, you'll find are actually excluded, you know, from critical illnesses.
Oh, wow. So you have to read your policy document and understand. And also I think you need to do a needs analysis. So before you take up a critical illness cover, you sit down with an insurance agent like Mama Bima.
Yes.
And then now you tell her what you want. So you have to like also communicate what the exclusions are so that someone can know that this type of cancer is not covered. Maybe this terminal illness can be accommodative and all those things.
Yes. That's a really good point. I like to say, when you go and you are shopping for insurance, please sit down with your preferred insurance agent and ensure that even before you purchase that policy, get a copy of your terms and conditions. You don't get your terms and conditions after you have purchased. It should be before. Your agent can actually avail even just a policy insert or the actual terms and conditions way before, so that by the time you are signing on the dotted line, you are on the same page.
Okay.
Yes, and there's shared accountability for what you've purchased.
Okay. I think that's key. That's of importance. So then how does one determine how much premium they will pay to get an adequate critical illness insurance cover?
So first, before I answer that, there are several, factors that an insurance company will take into consideration when pricing the critical illness policy. And one, that is age. Okay, so you find younger individuals, because remember, critical illness is a life insurance policy. Okay, so younger individuals tend to pay lower premiums for critical illness coverage because they are considered lower risk, right? And premiums typically increase with age. So for example, a 1 million cover for a 30-year-old would cost approximately 846 shillings, while the same amount of cover for a 60-year-old would cost 2,500. So you can see that, difference in price, and this is like monthly premium. So a 60-year-old would be paying 2,500, while the 30-year-old would be paying 800, thereabout. Okay. while the same amount of cover for a 60-year-old would be costing 2,500 shillings per month, thereabout. Okay. Number two, the insurance company also factors in the health status. Okay. So your current health status will play a significant role in the kind of premiums or how your policy will be priced. Okay, because they will look at, are there any pre-existing conditions and any other lifestyle factors such as smoking status, you know, that could actually affect what you call the risk profile. So for example, a 5 million cover for a 30-year-old who is a non-smoker. Okay, so now this is a 30-year-old non-smoker. It would cost them maybe 4,032 shillings per month to buy a 5 million policy, while the same amount of cover for a smoker who's also 30 years old would cost about 4,537. So you already see the smoker, you know, policy holder is paying an extra maybe 500 shillings every month because of their lifestyle choices. So now, to go back to your question on how a policy holder then determines how much premium they will pay to get adequate critical illness coverage, one thing you should do is you need to assess your financial needs, okay? Especially in the event of a serious illness. In Kenya right now, you can purchase a critical illness of 1 million to about 15 million shillings, okay? And if you follow, you know, if you've been involved or if you've contributed towards a fundraising, especially for critical illness treatment in the recent past, right now you're seeing that most goals are set at between 7 to about 10 million shillings, okay? So sometimes you need to really ask yourself that, say, if I were to be diagnosed with a critical illness, like approximately how much would I need? You know, because now that will guide you on how much critical illness coverage you should purchase. Maybe that may mean that instead of buying a 1 million cover, I think I am more confident in purchasing an 8 million or a 5 million cover. Okay. Also, I say that ensure that you keep it affordable and manageable. It's within budget. Don't overly strain yourself. If what you have currently is 1,000 bob, then buy a cover for 1,000 bob, because a critical illness cover is a term life insurance policy. If you abandon this policy midway, then your policy just falls off. Okay, so you want to ensure that as you are purchasing your policy, that you keep your premiums manageable and within budget. And lastly, consult with an insurance agent like yours truly, Mama Bima, because when we sit down with you, we get to show you these are the options that you have in the market, and we look at your circumstances. So it's not a one-size-fits-all. Okay, we get to delve into the terms and conditions more. We also get to assess your financial standing, and then we reach a compromise on maybe how much coverage will work best for you and how much premium you should commit to on a month-to-month basis.
So then what if I start and I've seen, okay, maybe I need a 5 million, and then now my premium at this point is, let's say, hypothetically 3,000 a month. Yeah?
Yes.
So right now, this is 2024.
Yes.
5 million is enough for me.
Yes.
Right? Then come 2026, that 5 million is not enough.
Yes.
So, and I'm willing to add. So do I take another term life or do I top up on this one?
So, I love that. When you take up life insurance, you need to keep on reviewing your coverage over time, right? So if you start with a 5 million cover and in another 3 years, in another 5 years, you feel I need 10 million, okay? It's advisable. Remember, say if you're the 30-year-old right now, in another 5 years, you'll be 35. So even the underwriting then will be different. The costing is different because it's a different age. So ensure that you are reviewing your coverage, and at whichever point now you want to add your coverage, you just take another parallel policy to run alongside your already existing policy. So you would notice with a critical illness cover, so maybe initially you took up a policy that was running for 10 years or even 20 years, okay? So 5 years in, you'll still have coverage for another 15 years or so, right? So now you can also come 5 years later and decide, I'll take a 15-year term to just run concurrently with this, or I want to take still a 20-year term and run with it until maturity. So always remember, if the diagnosis is made even when the two policies are running concurrently, okay? So maximum coverage may be capped at 15M, okay? So maybe you started with 5, you come take another 5. Later you come and try take 10. At that point, the insurance policy will push back and say, the most we can give you the third time is 5, because maybe the maximum coverage you can have is, or the maximum payout that can be made out to you in critical illness coverage is 15 million.
That's the maximum for
Yes,
everyone?
in Kenya.
Oh, okay, fine,
Yes.
fine. Then now if someone asks, so I know someone will ask this question because also it's in my mind.
Yes.
And I mentioned to you the first time I saw about critical illness insurance cover. So what if I took a 10-year critical illness insurance cover and I have been contributing my premiums monthly, quarterly, yearly, dependent on the frequency I choose to contribute, but I've been making regular commitments and my premiums are up to par. So the 10 years is over and I've not been diagnosed with a critical illness. So then what happens?
Okay. Thank you. Very good question, Lynette. So one thing we need to appreciate is that critical illness coverage is a term life policy. It's a term cover. This is not whole life. It's not permanent coverage. You get to enjoy the coverage during the point where your policy is running. So if you have a policy, say for 10 years, and not a diagnosis is made during that time, of course we tell God, thank God, right? We are still in good health. But at that point, 10 years later, you now renew the policy. So you probably take another 10 years. But I always advise, if you're going for a critical illness term, use the maximum that you can. Most providers will give you maybe like a maximum of 20 years, okay? Because when you maximize the term, you get to enjoy the premiums that you are given from the onset. If you're renewing every 10 years, if you take a policy at 30 and you go to purchase another one at 40, it will be way more expensive than what you were paying during your 30s, okay? But let's talk about insurance and how insurance really works. Lynette, my huge truck that is parked out there, right? So now I've had it for 3 or so years.
Yeah.
And since I got that car, I have comprehensive insurance, I have excess protector, I have political violence and terrorism riders, I even have AA, road rescue.
In case you get a puncture.
Yes, in case I get a puncture, baby girl lifestyle, I do not know where I would start. But the truth is, I have never made a claim. Yeah. And I renew my premiums, annually. And I never get back and say, company X, I didn't get, any claim this year, refund my premiums. So it's the same concept with critical illness coverage. Okay, so critical illness insurance, if the insured risk does not happen, that policy does not make a payout. But if the insured risk happens, the best critical illness policy in the market literally pays within 72 hours. So you can imagine submitting your medical records to the claims team, and within 72 hours, a 5 million has hit your account, 10 million has hit your account. That is what we call financial protection.
So why is it important for someone to have critical illness insurance cover in their financial plan? I know you have mentioned this.
Yes.
Just say it again.
Okay. So one reason, or the main reason why we have insurance within our financial plan, okay? Number one, insurance protects your wealth pillar. If there's one thing that's a lot of us are making a mistake, especially as Kenyans, we are really building wealth, so we are asset rich, we are also liquid. So we've bought bonds, we've bought real estate properties and so on. But then what happens when a critical illness hits, Lynette? We go into a frenzy, we are running helter-skelter, trying to offload, either having to do michangos, but we can agree. We can really agree that right now, a lot of people, even our own community, people are going through a lot of financial strain. So they may not be able to, contribute that 7M or that 10M that you really need. So at the end of the day, we end up having, to take our pieces of land to Shylocks to hold on to them. And God knows, after that is gone, right? It's very hard to get that property back.
Yeah.
Number two, we either have to sell the property at throwaway prices and so on. So why you need critical illness coverage in your financial plan is because this comes in to ensure that, God forbid, should you be diagnosed, with that critical illness, the payout that is made, say within those 72 hours, ensures that you don't have to dip into your emergency funds. You don't have to dip into your, into your even retirement, whatever you're setting aside as, your retirement plans and so on. So please ensure that even as you build a robust financial plan, that your wealth pillar is amply covered through life insurance products.
Yeah, and not only life insurance, general insurance products.
Yes, and I agree. Even for the assets that we have, I think we've gone through some tough weeks in the country.
Yeah.
We have seen, we saw also how the demonstrations went. We saw like the case at Sunbeam, where we heard of traders literally losing their entire stock, We saw so many other businesses really razed down, either burnt down or just burglarized and so on. We saw even vehicles literally burnt, So yes, if you have an asset, if you care about, the wealth that you're building, please ensure that you are protecting the wealth that you're building through insurance products.
And the wealth doesn't have to be bonds and shares. It's even the business you are building.
Yes.
Like protect it.
Yes. Like now for your business, ensure that you have like fire and special perils coverage. Ensure that you have a burglary coverage. You have an all risk coverage. Ensure that you even have public liability coverage and so on. And if you are a business person out there, today is a good day to call an insurance agent. Have a sit down, assess the risks, that you're going through. Let them get you different quotations, comparative quotes from different providers in the market. You will be pleasantly surprised. This week I've done, I think also business people are really awake right now to the risks that are there just in their everyday. And this week I've done so many quotes, and on average, I realized that rarely are you even paying more than 20K. Like yesterday I was doing property insurance for a residential home, valued at about 18 million, and the premium is about 20K. So you can imagine paying 20K once per year. That's it. But you know that, God forbid, should your house be raised down, you're covered up to the tune of like indemnification. You will be indemnified.
You don't have to, liquidate your assets to start from scratch.
You literally get your home back. You're given the value of all the what you have lost.
I think we'll do an episode on business insurance.
I'd love that
soon, so that also we can educate our listeners more on that sector, so that they can also get knowledge on it.
Yes.
So as we wind up the session, any last tips for our listeners in regards to critical illness insurance?
Okay. So if you are looking to purchase a critical illness cover, so number one, assess your needs. Okay, so number one, determine like how much coverage you'll need so as to maintain financial stability in case of a critical illness. Okay, number two, ensure that you understand your policy coverage. Okay, so that's it. I keep repeating this. You need to read through your terms and conditions. Just get into the habit of reading the fine print of your insurance policy. Sit down with your agent, go through and ask all the Q&A, like all the questions that you may have, and ensure that you only sign once your questions are answered properly. Number three, compare policies. We have different policies in the market. Of course, some are superior to others. You'll find some critical illness policies that will only cover just a few listed critical illnesses. Some will come and cover terminal illnesses. Some will even give you options to add riders, such as a death rider. You get. So Others will even allow you to add hospital cash riders and so on. So ensure that you're comparing policies from different providers. Also, be prepared for medical underwriting. This is something that I notice a lot of Kenyans, we tend to struggle with, okay? We come with an already set mind that I have to get ordinary terms underwriting. You get? So sometimes we forget that our health status may mean that my premiums may be slightly higher. Okay, because maybe I am hypertensive, you get? And the kind of underwriting terms I'll be given are not the same as someone who is, say their health is 100% perfect, okay? So, and just ensure, even as you're preparing for the medical underwriting, also ensure that you actually give truthful information. Because sometimes you may not have to undergo a medical exam. Sometimes it's just a health questionnaire. So the temptation is to just write no, 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 no. Please be truthful.
Is there anyone who writes yes?
Yes. My clients, if it's a yes, we write yes. And we just prepare ourselves for medical underwriting. Because the truth is, in future, that lie, that small lie of just taking no may actually mean that your claim will not be honored. Okay. Also, plan for affordability. So choose a premium that actually fits within your budget and a premium that you are very confident you can sustain it over the long term. Okay. Always remember, you can always add over time. It's very important to balance affordability with adequate coverage, so that you are very confident that if I commit to this policy for the next 20 years, I'll actually be able to see the policy up to the very end. And lastly, please consult an insurance agent. Okay?
That is true.
Yes. Your risk specialist is literally, this is their playing field. They're very confident. This is what they do best. Okay, so let them explain the policy details to you. Let them take you through. Let them show you, how does this policy from this company differ from this other one? And maybe this is why I'm proposing that maybe we go with plan A. But yes, work with a financial advisor, because they'll help you assess your insurance needs. They'll explain the policy details very well for you. And they'll also guide you through the selection process.
That's the key point.
Yes.
Yeah. So before we end, let's pick a card. Okay, we've played this color, right?
Yes.
So we don't play this color.
Yes. So this is Grow and Thrive.
This is Grow and Thrive. So we pick between yellow.
Yes.
You pick one card. Why are you picking the first one?
No, not the first one. I'm picking in here. So this is Wellness and Wealth. This is Wellness and Wealth. And my question to you, Lynette, what emotions or thoughts come to mind when you think about wealth, abundance, and financial success? How do these perceptions impact your financial decisions?
Wow, emotions that come. Me, I'm scared. I'm usually scared when I think of those things. So let me see. How do these perceptions impact your financial decisions? So for me, when I think about wealth, abundance, and financial success, I think also the older I get, the more scared I get, I feel like, I need to work harder. I need to save more. I need to start thinking about critical illness, like I was telling you today in the morning.
Yes.
Like, it makes me, every decision I make has an impact for my future. So even before I spend on something, I'm like, should I spend here or should I put this money here? Yeah.
Okay. I think on my end, when the emotions that I get when I'm thinking about wealth and so on, I am a big dreamer. I'm a billionaire in my mind. But one thing that I appreciate is that I was a very broke 20-year-old when my first time to come to Nairobi and university, and all you had to yourself was a little help, and you had to fund college, like you had to pay for your college. And I think one thing I've realized over time, and it's something maybe I would like to tell younger people, is it actually gets better as you get older.
But you have to put in the work.
Yes, of course. So I am, if there's one thing that I'm good at, is that I work hard. I don't think I'm the most talented. I'm never the most talented in a group. But the one thing that nobody can ever contest is the fact that I'm very hardworking. And I think what I've learned over time is if you're hardworking, it keeps getting better with time. Your liquidity improves, your purchasing power improves. So when I think of wealth and abundance and I hear those words, I see golden years. Anytime you hear me talking of retirement, I'm always talking of how will your golden years look like? Because that is what even the future looks like, and how this impacts the financial decisions I make now. I tend also to be one. I am one of the people who actually pays themselves first before everything else. Okay, so even as my income is growing, before the session, I was telling Lynette, last month, I actually added my life insurance coverage because I realized that my coverage was not, it was not
Optimum.
equal. Yes, it was not optimum, and it was not going to do much income replacement for my husband and our daughter, and also like my mom and so on, in the event that I'm not there. Okay, so I'm always very alive to, even what are the risks, that face me. And I find myself, is that even as my income grows, I find myself, setting aside more, for example, for school fee, say for my daughter, I find myself, I am that one parent who's always trying to work out the numbers and see, even as I'm building this sinking fund for next term, I also want to be 1 year ahead. Okay, so it's almost a combined sinking and particular emergency fund specifically for school. But otherwise, for me, when I hear wealth, abundance, I manifest it. I believe abundance is my portion. I think I've worked so hard. So for all of you younger people probably listening to this or watching this, I would say that age is kind to us. Okay, as long as you keep working hard, you wake up, press repeat, keep working hard, I believe the future is bright.
Wow, no words. So shall I pick a color?
Yes.
Okay, I'll pick. Which color have you picked? Yellow.
Green.
So why am I picking? What you're telling me? Okay, let me just pick green.
Yes.
I don't know why I'm picking the first one. Okay, wow. Mine says, what does retirement look like to you? And how do you envision spending your time and resources during this phase of life? Abundance.
I go first. So yes, retirement for me, I will be hopefully the shosho who's, my child or my kids can just drop my tushokurus, my grandchildren, and they'll know kwa shosho, their sausages, kuna mautam, without them having to come carrying bags of shopping and all. I see a lot of traveling. I'll be cruising all over the oceans and hopefully traveling in God knows, I see abundance in my old age. I also see a lot of giving back to the community also at that point. I believe that retirement, when we hit our retirement age, it's not the end of a journey. Yeah. It's actually the beginning of the freeway. It's a whole highway that's just starting. So I will build onto also the things that I do right now, which is if I'm giving back, to the community right now, at that point, maybe I'll have way more time and more resources to actually do the same. So I'd want to really commit myself to that. And other than that, the financial decisions that I'm currently making right now, whether it is the post-retirement medical fund solution that I'm currently running, whether it's the pension that I'm currently funding, whether it's the investments that I'm doing on the side, I believe all of them will culminate, to ensure that my golden years are actually beautiful.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So how about you? What does retirement look like for
mine.
you?
The first thing that comes to my mind, I even told you I want to move away from Nairobi. And that's not even in retirement. That is very soon. Like, that is now when my retirement journey is starting.
Yes.
So I envision it outside of Nairobi. Let's say in Limuru. And I want to wake up to fresh air. I don't want to see cement buildings around me. I think it's also because I was brought up in Nairobi. So sometimes I'm like, this city is just becoming more concrete. And I need fresh air. So for me, it's away from the city. And that one is soon. Like in the next 3 years, hopefully, inshallah. Then what else does retirement look like? Giving back to the community and also helping the poor. And yeah, that's what it looks like. As now, maybe it will change. Maybe next year I'll be like, no, I need a farmhouse, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, but now that's where I see myself. Yeah.
Lovely. Lynette, I really love these cards. And I think to our listeners, you know, who are watching this and wondering, what is this?
Yeah, what is this?
Yes.
So this is a card scheme I designed earlier this year. So it is just to enable people to have financial literacy conversations and also conversations with their friends. I think I'm the friend who asks financial questions. Sometimes even I ask you, hey, Mama Bima. And I don't shy away. So sometimes also when I'm with a group of my friends, they usually go like, you know. So sometimes then I thought about what if I customize a card game where people can ask each other questions and then they get to know how their friends are or how their family members are in relation to finances. So it is a holistic card game. So dependent on either your friend or your family, you can answer these questions. Even if you're married, you can ask your husband, Joe, these questions, and he can be able to also answer. Yeah.
Lovely. So I'm getting my pack of cards today. And before this session, as I was going through just the different queries and even the different themes, you know, so here we have the grow and thrive. We have wellness and wealth.
Which color do you have?
We also have friends and money. We also have reflect and manage. And lastly, we have the dream and thrive. It really hit me, really. Even our conversations, whether it's in chamas, with our friends, this is a card game that will really just come in handy to get us to talk of, you know, not
those hard questions. Yeah.
Yes. You know, so I would highly advise. So, Lynette, at least for me, I'm getting my pack, but how can somebody buy from you?
So at the moment, someone can go to my Instagram page, Financial Fitbit, and they can order a card, and we'll deliver.
Okay, lovely. Thank you.
Karibu sana, Mama Bima.
Yes.
So let's wind up the session. I'm about to tell you any last words. Do you have any last words?
Always a pleasure to be on the Get Your Bag Right podcast. I saw this podcast in its literally infancy stage. And when I reached out to Lynette so that I could sponsor this episode, I was excited. I'm happy to see also my good friend doing very good things. We love all the speakers that she brings onto the podcast. We love her work at the Financial Fitbit. And I'm also really happy to be associated with you. And any opportunity that I can get to also come and educate our listeners, I'm always happy to do so. So if you would like to reach out, you know, you're probably out there and you're thinking, how can I reach Mama Bima? We will have my contacts in the description. Okay, you can also connect with me on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok. Hey, I'm even on TikTok nowadays. Pressure decrease or increase. So I'm there, you know. So I'm pretty much on every platform. On IG, I would say probably that's where my page is really vibrant. So let's connect. Feel free to reach out. Discovery sessions at Mama Bima are actually free. We don't charge. So come in. Let's assess your needs. Let's see what is a good solution for you. And if we get to a point where we feel maybe, Mama Bima, I love this product. Could you help me on board? It will be my absolute pleasure to work with you. So thank you so much for your time. And thank you for having me, Lynette.
Karibu sana. So in case anyone is interested with to get a critical illness insurance cover, I will link a form on the description post of this episode, on the caption of this episode. And also you can go to Mama Bima's page. We will do a collaborative post where you can also reach out to her, and you can also inquire about a critical illness insurance cover.
Yes.
Yes. So until next time, my name is Lynette, helping you get your bag right. Bye.
Bye.